These are the best story-driven and adventure games that have been released on either Android or iOS in the last couple of years. We wanted to include as many great games as possible, and there are quite a few that have been launched 1 or 2 years ago, so without further ado, let's check out some great games. And we'll start with number 1, Gris. Gris is one of those games that you won't have trouble understanding because it doesn't use text to tell its story. While Gris is definitely a story-driven game, it sends players on an emotional journey, using simple control reminders shaped in the form of universal icons. Apart from the light puzzles and platforming sequences, Gris is a gorgeous game, featuring hand-painted visuals and an incredible tale of sorrow and loss experienced through the eyes of a young woman. Gris is a very pretty game that's already been praised by critics and gamers alike, so it was probably one of the easiest picks of our selection of curated titles. Our next pick, Oxenfree, is aimed at Stranger Things fans, without being actually a Stranger Things game itself. Developed by the fine folks at Night School, Oxenfree is a supernatural mystery graphic adventure game where players step into the shoes of a teenage girl who is visiting a local island with a group of friends. Oxenfree is a mix of teen drama and supernatural thriller that has a similar 80s vibe that made Stranger Things famous. It's an absolute must-play for those who love a supernatural mystery, synth tunes, and comics-like visuals. The next game we're going to talk about is a weird one, and not just because of the name, but mostly because of the gameplay. The Wanderer Frankenstein's Creature is a game co-produced by RT, a well-known cultural European TV and digital channel. It's a different approach to the myth of Frankenstein, one that involves you playing as the creature, a wanderer with no memory or past who has no notion of good and evil. Depending on the creature's emotions throughout the game, the scenery turns into breathtaking or dark, gloomy landscapes. The Wanderer Frankensteins is all about visuals and unique atmosphere, but the game's got some staggering tunes as well. Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers is a remake of the classic point-and-click adventure game with the same name, released back in 1993. Playing Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers is like being the protagonist in a mystery novel written by Agatha Christie, only this time you will be solving murders using so-called dumb cursors. This means that you have to select the correct cursor for a specific interaction with an object on the screen. Yes, it's a bit more complicated than the context-sensitive cursor in traditional adventure games, which change based on what the cursor is hovering over, but it's one of the traits that make Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Fathers rather unique. Forgotton Anne is one of the few games on the list with a really charming story. The game takes place in a fictional world where lost objects come to life. All these objects hope that their owners might remember where they lost them and that they would eventually return to the real world. And the protagonist of the game is one of the guardians of the Forgotten Lands, who must squash a rebellion that might prevent her from returning to the real world. Aesthetically, Forgotton Anne features a hand-drawn animated style, but the real pièce de résistance is the orchestral score performed by the Copenhagen Philharmonic. Next up, we should talk about Amanita Design. That's a name that needs no introduction among hardcore gamers. This studio has an impressive portfolio that includes titles like Machinarium, Botanicula, Pilgrim, and Samorost. While not the most recent game launched by Amanita Design, Samorost 3 is one of the studio's best looking titles. The high-definition graphics make Samorost 3 look gorgeous on both small and larger displays. Unlike traditional point-and-click adventure games, Samorost 3 doesn't feature comprehensible dialogue, and the sound recording was created by people making strange noises in microphones. If these are not good reasons to play Samorost 3, then maybe the fact that the game won a handful of important awards might convince some of you to give it a try. Limbo is the equivalent of a film noir for a gamer. Developers have used black and white tones to build the dark, tenebrous landscapes and creatures that roam the world of Limbo. The excellent use of lighting and film grain effects will probably give you eerie feelings, but so does Hitchcock's Psycho, and it's still considered one of the best classic horror movies. In Limbo, you'll be controlling a boy through haunting environments by using simple commands like run left or right, jump, climb, and push or pull. Although Limbo does feature solid gameplay mechanics, it's an example of games as an art form. Yes, the game is a bit light on the story, but if you have a knack for the horror genre, Limbo is the perfect way to quench that thirst. Next up we have Never Alone, an adventure game that allows you to switch between the two main characters, a girl and a fox. You will be forced to switch between the two companions to solve puzzles or reach certain areas in the game. Never Alone tells an Alaska Native traditional story that's been shared across generations. The game features impressive yet harsh Arctic environments, which players must brave to reach at the end of the journey. Aside from the main story, each time players overcome a challenge, they will be rewarded with cultural insights, short stories told by Alaska Native community members and storytellers. If you're not too thrilled about the platforming, puzzle gameplay elements, you'll surely love the story Never Alone sets out to tell. Next up, The Walking Dead is one game probably everyone knows about, thanks to the very successful TV series. Unlike traditional adventure games, The Walking Dead trades puzzles for character development and storytelling. While there are no puzzles to solve in this game, there are surely lots of QTEs or quick time events to execute. What makes this game unique for its genre is that every choice you make throughout the game influences the story and carries over to the next episode. The Walking Dead is based on the comic book series and consists of 5 episodes that we recommend you check out. A similar game when it comes to gameplay, The Wolf Among Us tells the story of Bigby Wolf, a detective who investigates the murder of a woman. Fans know that this is a prequel to the comic book, but here is a quick rundown of the premise if you've never heard about the game just yet. The Wolf Among Us is set in a fictional colonial America where inhabitants of the magical lands have fled from a mysterious tyrant. Since they're not human, they must use an enchantment called Glamour to hide their appearance. And yes, you'll most likely recognize many folktale characters like Little Red Riding Hood, the Woodsman, Little Mermaid, Bloody Mary, and the protagonist, the Big Bad Wolf. Life is Strange is yet another story-driven episodic graphic adventure that follows the adventure of a young student who discovers that she can rewind time. Unfortunately, every time she changes something in the past, she triggers the butterfly effect, which means every small change in the initial conditions would result in different outcomes later on. If the premise of the game piqued your interest, you'll be happy to know that the story is even better. And finally, The Silent Age is probably the oldest game on this list, so chances are that many have already heard of it. It's a point-and-click adventure game set in a dystopian future where mankind has gone extinct. You'll be playing a janitor who's trying to save humanity by using time travel. The janitor/time travel combination is by far the least weird thing about The Silent Age. We'll just mention some other concepts that appear in the game so you'll get an idea of what to expect. Communism, spies, portable time machines, cryo chambers, and a lot of time traveling. Now this wraps up our selection of the best story-driven adventure games available right now for Android and iOS. Let us know which one of these games you find to be your favorite, and have we missed any? Let us know in the comments, we always enjoy hearing from you. My name is Victor, this is PhoneArena. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to also subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss new videos. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.